Hello everyone. So today we are starting with the very first chapter of class 7 science. I'm referring to NCERT mostly. And these are if you know, these are the new NCERT textbooks which were released last year only. And it's not usual and not written in, that much very easy language this time. That's why, students are finding it difficult to understand it. That's why I thought of making a video on it. And, we are starting with the first chapter. Subsequently, we'll talk about the other chapters as well. Okay, I'll just try to cover, one chapter in one video. And talking about the notes and all those things, you will get in the description of the video. You will find out that one. Everything will be there. Nothing to worry about that. Fine. Acha. Chalo, starting with the chapter which is called as the ever evolving world of science. Okay, so in this chapter basically we will be talking about how we are gonna understand, how we're gonna read science. See, throughout this journey, throughout this class 7 science, I'm not just talking about the physics, not just the math, bio or chemistry, but overall whatever is the branch of science, how we are going to read that we will try to understand in this chapter. Okay, and the chapter name itself, it says that the ever evolving means science which is not fixed, which is not rigid, it is ever evolving, it is ever changing, it is dynamic in nature. Okay, so all those aspects we'll try to understand in this chapter. Okay, so we'll be basically talking about what is a science. First we'll try to understand what is science basically. Next one, we'll talk about the scientific methods, where we will be talking about the 5 steps which is involved in the scientific method, how we can conclude something if we are having any problem. Problem in the sense, if you observe something, there is a new thing for you, so you try to find out the answer for that. So what are the 5 methods in which you can solve that one, you can get to the answer. Okay, and third one, we'll talk about the discovering our world, in which we'll see what are the applications of science around us, using the science, what all aspects we can understand in a better way, critically we can think. Achha, and last one is the thinking like a scientist, how we think like a scientist. We do not believe in stories, we do not uh, you know believe what is not relevant to science. Okay, how you think critically, how you question everything, whatever you are doing, what you question everything. Okay, so starting with the science, what is science? Okay, so in my opinion, science is, if I have to say in one word, science is the study of nature. Very simple. If you have to write down in one line, that is, a science is the study of nature. Okay, whether you talk about the physics, whether you talk about the chemistry, whether you talk about the biology. Biology, if you say, so biology is talking about the life. Okay, chemistry, it talk about the fundamental particles, how the things are working, what's the working mechanism behind it. So at the fundamental level, like at the atomic level, atoms, molecules, all those things are there. So it talks in the detail, in deep detail at fundamental level. Physics, it talks about the physical world. Okay, it talks about the physical world, how it works, why it is happening, how it is happening. If you are able to, if you throw a ball, it moves to some distance and it stops, why it is happening. If you're trying to pull a bicycle and eventually it stops, why it is happening. If you are able to apply some force, you change the shape and size of the ball, why it is happening. Okay, like that, there's a lot of things. Like if you see in your home, your fan is moving, how that fan is moving, that all, there's a lot of question that is being solved by the physics. So whatever, if you talk about the biology, chemistry, or physics, you might have observed by now that it is overall the study of nature, right? Now, coming back to the definition, it is the study of natural world and the changes happening around us. Acha. Talking about the changes, we'll talk about this. Okay, we'll talk about this later in this chapter. Now, it is an, if you see one word written here, which is really important, it is saying that it is an ever-evolving subject. Why it is saying that ever-evolving subject? If you get some good question from this chapter, in your school exam or something, so they will ask you why science is called as the ever-evolving subject. So that time you need to explain that. Ever evolving means what? It is not rigid, it is not fixed, it is ever changing, it is a dynamic subject, because scientists, as you see, so they keep on observing the things, they keep on questioning the things, they always try for some better explanation, they always try for some getting some better, better things. So that's why science is called as the ever evolving subject. Whatever if you see our world, your environment, your society 10 years back, now it is improved. So there's a lot of things which is working behind, back of the stage, and that is because of science. Okay, we we used to have normal analog clocks at old times. Now we are having digital clocks. So that all are happening because of science. Okay, so that's why we call science as a ever evolving subject. Clear, I guess. I can go to I guess we can go to next slide. Okay, now this is a very interesting question. I found this question very interesting, that where does science begin? Where does science begin? So if you try to talk and try to understand, then you will find out that whenever this universe might have started, the science started at that time, right? Acha. But there's a very good line I saw in your NCERT textbook. It says that it starts when we carefully observe nature, okay, using our senses and ask questions. Okay, how beautiful it is saying that you need not mention the time when the science was started. For you specifically, when the science started, when you start observing the nature, when you start questioning it, okay, when you use your senses, try to see the changes happening around you and try to find out the answers. Understand? And that time you become a scientist, you become a science student, right? So that's how you need to read the science. It's not a literature subject, it's not a math subject that you're simply doing. And well, there's no offense, I'm just trying to make you understand. Science is, when you are reading the science, so the main motive of this chapter is to make you curious. Okay, curiosity, curious means you have eager to know something new, you have eager to observe the things, get something totally new one. You try to find out the answers, you have a lot of questions. So that is what a scientific mindset. Okay, clear, I guess. So again, these are the same things: observation, curiosity. Curiosity is basically the desire to know why and how things happen. You have the curiosity, you have the desire to know something new. You try to discover something, right? So these are comes under the curiosity. Now, this is also an important question. When we say that, the question may come like that: why science is called as a dynamic subject? Dynamic means changing, ever changing. Okay, ever changing subject. It means that, let's say, whatever we can talk in the different aspects. Let's say talk about the technology. Whatever technology you were using 10 years back, are you using the same technology today? No, I guess, right? Let's say, for example, this clock. This is called as a sundial. This is our sundial. So sundial used to show the time based on the, okay, based on the what? Position of the sun. So based on the position of the sun, sundial used to show approximately time. Okay. Then it is replaced. No. This cannot be sundial. This is the sundial. Okay. Then it is replaced by the clocks, and now we are having the modern technology in which we can measure the even a smaller, precisely, very precisely, and even the fraction of seconds. Okay. So this all happening, why? Because of science. There is an advancement in the science. Because science is changing every time. It is a dynamic subject. It is not fixed. It is not rigid. It changes whenever new discoveries are made. It is changing. Clear, I guess. Okay. Now, next one, talking. This is a important aspects. What are the 5 methods, or basically 5 scientific methods? How you think like a scientist, and so that you try to find out the answer, and eventually you get to the conclusion by yourself. Okay. Now, for example, let's say, if you can see here, there was an old belief that diseases are caused by the evil spirits. Okay. In our times also, like the smallpox. Okay, there are some of the diseases which were believed that this is caused by the evil spirits. Now, since we are having the medical science now, we are having the vaccines now, and we understood it in a better way. And today we understand that no, this is caused by the virus, and we have a cure of that. Acha, we are able to find the cure once we understand the reason behind it. We are able to understand why it is happening. So once we try to understand with the help of science, then only we are able to create the cure for that. So that's why understanding science, okay, in a better way, in the scientific way, is really important rather than accepting stories. Again, I am saying that as a science student, you must not accept the stories. Whatever you are doing, there must be a logical, there must be a critical thinking behind it. You should having a questioning mind. Okay, you should question everything. You accept it, but not blindly. You should question why. If I have to do this, why I have to do this? If I have to believe this, why? Why should you believe this? In science, I'll tell you, nothing works on belief. It's not about the belief. In science, it's always about the experiment. Okay, experiment, solid conclusions. So it is based on that. Okay, now talking about these 5 steps, I'll just remove all those things. So in the very first step, it comes the observation. Observation means what? Carefully observing the and noticing the events. Let's say, I'll take an example of, let's say, there's one plant, okay, which is kept in the sunlight, and one another plant which is kept in the dark room. You observe that the plant which is kept in the sunlight grow better, okay, grow faster, grow better. So that is your observation, right? That is your observation. Like, you try to understand not just that example. There's a lot of things that we see around us. Okay, so that is my first observation. Now, what happens generally? Generally, you just observe and you think like, okay, it happens like that only. You take it as usual, kind of कि ऐसा ही होता है करके. नहीं, you have to think like a scientist कि if it is happening, why it is happening. You can observe a lot of very small incidents around you. The working of fan in your home, how your refrigerator working, how's the AC working. Uh, if there is a, in the daytime there is a sunlight, in the nighttime there is no sunlight, why it is happening, why it is so. Okay, so there's a lot of questions that you can create. So that's what the next step is, the questioning. And that will come only when you observe. Observation also critically, observation also, you must have the curiosity. Okay, careful observation must be there. Like you are observing and you're trying to understand the scientific reason behind it. Okay, if you're not able to understand, then you question it, right? Why it is happening and how it is happening. So two questions are really important in science: why and how. First thing, why it is happening. Okay, and if you get the answer for why it is happening, then your question is how it is happening. Okay, so these are the first two steps. Acha, when we talk about the observations, observation is done by your sense organs. Acha, what are our sense organs? Our skin, okay, and nose and ears, and next one. Okay, skin, eyes, skin, nose, ears, eyes, and tongue. Okay, these are the five sense organs through which we observe something. Clear? Acha, next step is the questioning. When we talk about the whatever you observe, you try to ask question like why it is happening and how it is happening. Clear? Now, next step is the hypothesis. In the next step, you try to create some probable answer, some answer that might be correct, that can be correct, that may not be correct. That's why we do not say as the perfect answer. We say it as a hypothesis. Hypothesis means this answer can be true, this answer may not be true, right? So let's say in the case of that plant which is growing faster in the sunlight, so then we create a hypothesis key plants grow better in the sunlight. That is your hypothesis, but that hypothesis may be true, may not be true. Okay, so to check that whether it is true or not, you go to experiment. You do make the experimental setup. Let's say some 50 plants you keep in the sunlight, some 50 plants you keep in the dark room, and you provided the same amount of water and minerals to all the plants. And after some days you observe that the plants which are kept on the sunlight, they grow better. All the plants, not just one or two plants, there's no exception. All the plants which are kept in the sunlight, they grow better. Okay, and the plants which were kept in the dark room, they could not grow that much better. Their growth was very slow. Okay, then you get that your hypothesis, whatever you thought, is aligning with your experimental results. Whatever you did the experiment, that's the same thing you got in your experiment. Clear? When you get this one, then you can go to the conclusion. Okay, whatever is your hypothesis, that is correct. Then you say that conclusion means, in this case, what would be conclusion? That plants grow better in the sunlight. Clear? That is your conclusion. Acha, if somehow, let's say your hypothesis become wrong. Okay, you are thinking of hypothesis, you do the experiment, but your hypothesis, statement of your hypothesis is not aligning with your experimental values, experimental data. So what you do, you come back to the hypothesis again. You try to change a little bit in the hypothesis accordingly, and then you go to the experiment again. It might possible that you get the wrong thing again you come back to hypothesis, again you go to experiment, and this cycle keeps on repeating until and unless your hypothesis and your experimental data align with each other. Okay, clear? This is clear. Okay, I would like to give an example. Who discovered the bulb? Do you remember who discovered the bulb? Hmm? Thomas Alva Edison. Okay, so he did a lot of failed attempts to create that bulb. So what he was doing, he was trying to make a hypothesis. Okay, if I do like this one, maybe my bulb will work. Maybe if I do like this one, my bulb will work. So eventually he was doing, and at the end he got the result aligning with his hypothesis. And this is with the most of the experiments. Okay, you think something and you try to do the experiment, and it's very rare that you will find out conclusion in the one and two steps. Okay, and once your experimental data, experimental values, and your hypothesis are aligning with each other, then you conclude it. That's how that's called the scientific method. Acha, if you are doing like that one, you are a scientist. See, scientist is not some post, it is a mindset. Okay, it is a thinking. So if you are also doing like this one, you are also a scientist, right? So that's what the five steps of scientific methods. Again, I'll just quickly summarize. First one is the observation that you do through your sense organ. Next one is the questioning. Next, then was the hypothesis, where we talk about the probable answer of any question. Then we talk about the experiment, and then the conclusion. I hope this is clear. This is clear. Fine. If not clear, you can go back to video, try to see that again. Acha, we'll talk about it in more elaborated one. When you'll go in class 8, there are 7 steps. Okay, some more steps comes. So We'll talk about that in more detail in class 8, but for now, this much is enough. Clear? Fine. Now, talking about the next one, our next topic is the web of science. Such a web of science, we talk about the, let us see, the biology, where we talk about the physics, where we talk about the chemistry. So these all are not a separate subject in itself. They all are interconnected. Acha, talking about the biology. So biology basically talks about the life. It is the study of life. In one line, you have to say that it is the study of life. Okay. Talking about the chemistry, it talks about the materials. See, materials and the changes happening around us. Physics, it talks about the energy and the forces. Okay, there's a lot of things that we see, like the working of electricity, light is there, force is there, how the set of formation is there, movement of the stars. There's a lot of things that comes under the physics. Acha, the main agenda of this slide is to make you understand that science is interconnected, whether it is biology, chemistry, or physics. And further, when you'll go in the higher classes, there are separate subtopics or subjects that comes under the biology. There's a lot comes under the chemistry and the physics, further divided into different subjects. But eventually, you will find out they all are interconnected. We just read it separately, but they are interconnected with each other. Whatever is the phenomena happening in the physics at the intermolecular level, you can explain with the chemistry only. Okay, and at the same time biology. So basically everything is interconnected. Clear? Clear? Now coming to the changes. Acha, in the this slide, if you see here, I was talking about the changes. So that what we will talk now. So when we talk about the changes which is happening around us in the environment, so there are two type of changes that we see. Okay, first one is the reversible changes. Second one is the irreversible changes. This one is also called as the physical changes, and this one is also called as the chemical changes. Okay, these are the chemical changes. Now, talking about the physical change or the irreversible change means, in one line, we can say that the processes or the changes which can be undone. Okay, like if you make the ice from water, again if you melt the ice, again you will get the water. From water you can vaporize it and you'll get the water vapor. When you condense it, again it will convert to water. So this converting ice into water, water to water vapor to water again, water to again ice. So these all process you can repeat. You can these are interconvertible, right? So this kind of processes are called as the reversible changes. Talking about the irreversible changes that cannot be undone. Let's say you take a paper and you burn it, it will convert to the ash. Okay. Now using that ash, you cannot get back that same paper again. That's not possible. Okay. So this process cannot be undone. Okay. Once it is done, means it is done. Clear. So this type of processes are called as the irreversible changes or the chemical changes. Clear. Clear. Acha, in this one, when we talk about the changes, so some of the changes are very slow, like the rusting of the iron, while some of them are very fast, like burning. When you burn a paper, suddenly it will convert to the another material. Okay. So basically, these are the example of irreversible changes or the chemical changes. Rusting is an example of chemical change or irreversible change. Burning is also an example of irreversible change. So that's what there are, processes which are very slow in nature. Some are very faster in nature. Clear. Not talking about the science in living beings. See, when you talk about any living, whether you talk about the humans, whether you talk about the plants, so if they are growing, there is a life inside it. So there's a lot of factors which could be explained through science in our in the anything which is having life. Okay, let us talk about the plant. So when there is a seed, how it is coming out of the soil, okay, how it is growing, then it get to the flowers. From the flowers you get to another seed when it grow. So this whole phenomena, the science is involved in it. Okay. Acha, science not only biology is involved, like the growing of plants here. Okay, not just the biology is involved here. There is a role of physics also, there is a role of chemistry also. Okay, talking about the human bodies. Okay, so it is really complex. It starts at the cellular level. There are cells, exchange of gases, which is explained by the chemistry. How you are able to walk, how you are able to talk, what are the physical activities that you can do, all those things come from the physics and the biology. So in the living beings, it all are coordinated with science, not just one subject like bio, physics, chemistry, bio, everything is there which coordinates the living being. So it says that basically the changes don't just happen to ice and paper. Some of the changes that you cannot see, that is really slow, like this, the from the plant seed plant is coming outside. So in the living organism, whether you talk about the plants and animals, they also grow and change with time. Okay, and what science do, it science helps us to understand the life process like nutrition, breathing, circulation, okay, which is essential for the survival. Achha, science also helps to detect the disease. It also helps to understand the reason behind any disease. It detects the parasites, it detects the viruses, and accordingly science creates the cure for those kind of diseases. Okay, Now, science in the sky. Acha, this one is a absolutely interesting subject. And in physics, when we talk about the science related to the sky, okay. So in the space, there's a branch of physics called as astrophysics. Okay, astrophysics. Acha, in the some last chapter of this one, we'll be talking about one chapter which will be absolutely dedicated to the astrophysics. Acha, if some of you are interested, so this is as a teacher, this is our responsibility to make you curious about what is happening in the space. How are you able to see the sun as very smaller one, even though the sun is very larger than Earth? How are you able to see the moon? Okay, why you see the different shapes of the moon around you? How are you able to see the stars? What are stars basically? How the solar eclipse and lunar eclipse happen on the Earth? Okay, is there a myth or is there a science behind it? Okay, why the weather changes on Earth? Why there is a day and light on the Earth? Okay, so these all things is being explained by the science. Okay, how the humans have measured, how the humans started observing. Like they start, earlier they used to believe that Earth is the center of this universe and everything else is revolving around it. Okay, so they used to, believe that this sun is also revolving around the Earth, but it is not happening like that. Actually, the Earth is revolving on its own axis, right? Anti-clockwise, I guess. Yeah, anti-clockwise direction. The Earth is itself revolving around its axis. That's why we get daytime and nighttime on Earth. Okay, not just a rotation. It is rotating. What I'm saying. This is a rotation of the Earth, as well as it is revolving also. It is revolving around the Earth, and this revolution uh, takes around 365 uh, days. Days and 6 hours approximately. Clear? This slide basically will try to we are trying to make you understand that solar eclipse and lunar eclipse, these are not any myth related to it. These are all a scientific phenomena. Acha, I'm not here to teach you exactly what is a solar eclipse and lunar eclipse. I'm here to tell you the perspective of science. Okay, how you see the processes happening around us. Okay, nowadays also people have the the myth about the solar and the lunar eclipse to their mind once. So you should not be like that. I'm just trying to tell you, you should understand what is the phenomena happening in the space. That's why we are able to see the processes like that. Okay, so we are here to tell you the you should have that scientific attitude. Okay, scientific attitude. Acha, we'll talk about that. What is the scientific attitude as well, and the curiosity, so that you can understand the things in the scientific manner. Okay, now thinking like a scientist. How you think like a scientist? So there are basically the four factors which is really important for a scientist. Okay, first one is the curiosity. Very important one. Curiosity. They are always eager to know something new. They try to find out something new. And eventually it leads to discovery. Next one is the open mindedness. Open mindedness means you do not accept the stories. Okay, and whenever there's a there is some phenomena happening in the nature, you observe something, so there will be a lot of ideas related to it. So you should be thinking like that. Your mind should be open to different ideas. Okay, you should not simply just accept any stories and move on. You should try to think like a scientist. You try to find out what's the reason, and for that you have to agree to a lot of aspects. You have to see a lot of aspects of that thing. Okay, next one is the logical thinking. Logical thinking, like whatever you are thinking, it should make sense. Okay, it should not be like anything you're talking. Let's say if I say like the sunrise is in the west, does it make sense? Okay, it doesn't make sense. So whenever you're thinking about any problem in science, and when you're trying to find out, when you are trying to discover something new, so you should have a logical thinking. You should have a critical thinking. Logical means you should think and try to find out answer which do make sense, which have evidence in the science, right? It should not have any evidence. Like I'll try to, let me explain you one research was done by a scientist. I'm not taking his name now. So what he did, he tried measuring the weight of the soul when the person is dying. So he tried to find out what is the weight of that soul when it leaves the body. So when he did a lot of experiment, but when he started failing somewhere, so what he told like basically he tried his experiment on the humans, and eventually he tried his experiments on the dogs and other animals also, but in dogs and all they could not find out that one. So eventually he said like dogs does not have soul. So if you are making a statement like that, it does not seem to be logical. Do you understand? So that's why you should have a logical thinking. And at the last, there must be honesty. This is a very important aspect of a scientist. You must have a honesty whenever you are doing the experiment. Okay, you are recording the data, so you should not, change your data. Whatever you are observing, you have to record that data only, because eventually it will be helpful for the society. So if you are not honest with your work, okay, you can never get to the correct solution. You can never discover something clear. So honesty is a really important aspect of scientists. Okay, now next one, talking about the responsibility of science. See, I would like to tell you one example. Have you seen the movie Oppenheimer? Okay, so in Oppenheimer, they talk about how they created the atom bomb. Now, when we talk about atomic energy, so that atomic energy we can use to generate the electricity also. We can use generate the electricity, but that same atomic energy can be used to make the atom bombs. Atom bombs. Acha, when you make the atom bombs, that is devastating. That is, very harmful for the nature, for the society. Okay, but at the same time, atomic energy is really helpful for the society. So when you are discovering something, when you are researching something, when you are finding something new, you must ensure that what you're finding is gonna be beneficial for the society, not for the harm of the society. Acha, development should never be on the cost of harming the nature. You, let's say you cut the plants and you made another factory there. So eventually it's not a development. You cannot say it as a development. Okay, so as a scientist, it is your responsibility that whatever you are discovering, it should not harm the nature, it should not harm our earth, it should not harm the society. Clear? So that is the responsibility that a science and that scientists must hold. So there comes the concept of sustainable development. Sustainable development means basically you make the development, but keeping in mind the future generation. You use the you use the resources wisely. Okay, that's it in this chapter. So where eventually, basically in this chapter, we discuss about the nature of the science, what are the methods, scientific methods, what is scientific attitude. Acha, this one, what we were talking, this is scientific attitude. Okay, thinking like a scientist. This is called a scientific attitude. And we talk about the changes, what is the reversible and irreversible changes. Okay, and how the science connected the world, how we see the world with a scientific mindset. Okay, now these are some of the questions. If you wish to, you can pause the video and you'll try to do it. Acha, this is there's an interesting thing there. It's not answer the questions, it is the question the answer. Answer is given. Okay, and you try to think of the questions. That's how you think logically. Okay, you try to interpret. Let's say why this activity is important, because answer is there in front of your eyes. Let's say you see the fan moving. You saw the fan moving, but why it is moving? So that's where you create the question. Like, and there can be a lot of explanation for that. That also you need to understand. Let's say first question I'll try to do, second and third you try to do it by yourself. Okay, and if you get the answer, you can tell me in the comment section. Clear? Now, first one, let's say I say that because the cat's teeth were crooked. Okay, what could be the question for that? This is the answer. There can be a lot of question. Okay, because the cat tooths were crooked. So why the cat was not able to drink milk? That could be one question. Because the cat teeth were crooked. Why cat seems to be so low? Because the cat's teeth were crooked. Why cat was not responding? That could be one question. Why the cat seems arrogant today? Why the cat seems so upset today? Why the cat is not eating something today? Because the cat teeth were crooked. Okay. So there can be, acha, did you observe that there can be a lot of question for one answer? Understand? Acha, if one question is given, there can be one answer for that. But if there is one answer, there can be a lot of question for that. Okay. So that's make you think like logically, you think critically. Okay. So furthermore, so question number 2 and question number 3, you try to do it by yourself. Next one, science is a continuously evolving subject, right? Science is based on careful what? Guess karte hain, observe karte hain. We observe it. We don't guess in science. Okay. Observation comes from, acha, before experiment or after experiment? Obviously before experiment. Okay. We observe first, then we think of question, then we get to the experiment. Changes that occur quickly are called as the, quickly means fast, easy, clear. Next one, name one activity involved in the scientific thinking. There can be a lot of activity like your observation. Okay. Similarly, questioning. Okay. Experimentation. Those all are the activity involved in the scientific thinking. Wait, scientific. Fine, fine. Give an example of an irreversible change. Irreversible change means burning of paper. I'm giving the normal examples. Burning of paper. It could be one example. Name one phenomena, natural phenomena explained by science. For example, let's say the growing of plants, that could be explained. Okay, why should resources be conserved? That you say, because it can be used for the future generation. That's what we talk about, the sustainable development. Clear? So this we complete our session, and there are a lot of questions in your NCERT textbook that you try to do it by yourself. If there is any doubt, you can post it here. And this last slide, really important. It says that the real laboratory is outside this book. Okay, whatever you read, whatever you learned, you try to go outside and try to implement it. You try to think, you try to apply it. Okay, because whatever you read is in your brain. You must apply it into the real world, like this child flying the aeroplane. So the idea comes from here. Okay, and eventually I am able to create this real aeroplane, which is really helpful for the society nowadays. Do you understand? So step out of the classroom, start, and you think how you can make it. Okay, clear? So yeah, that's it for today, and here we complete our first chapter. In the next video we'll come with the next chapter. Okay, so any doubt, anything is there, you can just post it here. I guess there should not be any doubt. If anything is there, you go back to video, you try to see it again. Okay, so thank you.